Welcome back everyone. In today's video, we're going to be teaching you how to build an e-commerce store in 2024. And so having an e-commerce website and building a store is the first step in your entrepreneurial journey. Maybe you want to sell some products and you're not quite sure how to do that. Well, in today's video, we're going to be going through all the steps and rating each e-commerce platform provider, talking about the steps to build a great website and helping you get started on your journey ready to be an entrepreneur. So the first step is actually building an e-commerce website. And it's pretty tricky to decide. It's the first step that you take, and essentially it's really important, but it's not the only thing. You're gonna have to take that website, you're gonna have to personalize it to the style of your brand, and you're gonna have to make it really feel like a streamlined process. But many successful e-commerce websites, they really share a number of key features. The first is that you're able to seamlessly browse through the product listings. If there is any friction whatsoever in this process, it becomes really tricky because it means that customers are finding it really difficult to actually go through and find the thing that they want. Browsing is really important. The second thing that a lot of successful e-commerce platforms have is that they share a lot of educational and informational content. Now, this is really important because essentially it means that people who are not really aware of the product category, they get a lot of value out of your site. The third and final thing is a lot of these platforms make it really easy and seamless for you to share on social media. And the reason for this is very obvious, right? It means that people who share your content to friends, and that's really easy to do, it actually makes your product more viral and your site have more traffic, more hits, more likelihood of actually selling. So now that you've got a brief understanding around what it is that makes a successful website, in this guide, in this video, we're going to be telling you and going through the steps on how to successfully create your own website to sell for e-commerce. But before we even begin, right, step one is you need to identify your business model. It's really important to understand from the get-go what the business model is that you're going to be using. There's two main types. The first is B2B, which is business to business. It means that you as a business are not selling to end customers, but you yourself are selling to other businesses. An example of a company that does something like this is, think your big tech companies, think Salesforce, right? They sell CRM systems to other businesses. The second is B2C, and this is business to customer. And this is, what traditional e-commerce looks like. It means that I, as a business, am selling to you, the customer. One of the best examples of a company that does this is Amazon, right? They sell goods and services to customers all around the world. There are more niche models like C2C, which is customer to customer. This is something like Craigslist or your Gumtrees or your eBays where, customers are selling to other customers, but we won't get into this now. So once you've actually figured out what your business model is going to be, it's time to choose an e-commerce platform that's right for you. Now, there is the option, obviously, to hire a developer and build a site from scratch, but with the great options out there, there's so many different e-commerce platforms available, it's probably easier, especially if it's your first time, to choose one of the available options. So now we'll be going through a number of different e-commerce platform providers, going through a quick pros and cons list and kind of what we recommend. The first is Shopify. When I think of a user-friendly, really easy to use platform, Shopify comes to mind immediately. We at e-commerce platforms rated it as actually the top platform for both vendors and customers. And here are a couple of reasons why. The first is it's super easy to use. You don't need to be a tech whiz, you don't need to know coding, you just kind of plug and play. It takes a few clicks, you got an account, and suddenly your website is live. You've also got so many themes and design options. There are thousands of templates for you to get started with, and it just really makes this process of setting up your site super easy. The last is integrations. There are thousands of apps for you to play for. From marketing tools to inventory management tools, the list is endless, it goes on. You can browse the store all day and you can find tools that work for you. The next option that you have available to you is a site called Ecommerce. Now, you might have heard already of BigCommerce. It's commonly used by e-commerce businesses, typically enterprise level, because of the functionality and the scalability. But here's why we like BigCommerce. The first is that there are tons of features. Like I mentioned before, another advantage of BigCommerce is its scalability. It allows small businesses the option to create a website which can scale in the future. And so whether your store is providing and delivering tens of orders, it works perfectly there, up to tens of thousands of orders, hundreds of thousands of orders. The list goes on. And finally, a great feature of BigCommerce is there are actually no transaction fees. This is a huge plus point. If your business is going through large volumes of orders, the savings can really add up. The next e-commerce platform is Squarespace. And Squarespace is an interesting one because it's really found its niche into beautifully well-made websites. Personally, I've seen some really aesthetic websites built from Squarespace, and there are a couple of advantages that I see using Squarespace over, say, Shopify or BigCommerce. The first is the templates. They are extremely aesthetic. They are good looking templates that you can use to make a very aesthetic website. Squarespace also offers content and email marketing as well. They include inbuilt blogging tools and email marketing tools, so it means that you don't actually have to pay for these services separately, saving you in the long run. The final reason I like Squarespace is they offer you a 14-day free trial. Now, 14 days is more than enough to go on, build a website, play around with functionality. It gives you the flexibility to really understand whether this is right for you. Now, moving on to our final e-commerce platform, it's WooCommerce. If you want to self-host a site, then WooCommerce is right for you. WooCommerce is actually free to use. And if you've got experience with WordPress, then this might be the right option for your business. It's very different to the other platforms I mentioned, but here's why I like it. The first thing is it gives you way more control. And if you're a business that prioritizes security, then WooCommerce might be the right option for you. It gives you full control over your website and all other related data. The other great thing is the amount of customization it offers. There are a wide array of plugins that help you tap into the WordPress ecosystem. The final advantage, like I mentioned above, is that it's free. But that does mean you have to pay for hosting, you have to pay for other plugins and themes to really fully flesh out your site. Now that you've selected which e-commerce platform provider you're going to use, it's time to go through the steps on how to build the website. I myself prefer a hosted option. So for this example, we're going to be using Shopify. Step one is signing up to a Shopify account. So Shopify give you 3 days free, but they give you an entire month for just $1. So that's a great option to get started with. The next step is setting up your store. You got to fill out a bunch of these dialog boxes, like adding in your address, which Shopify uses to calculate shipping costs and things like that. And then after you've done that, on the next screen, you're going to see that Shopify actually asks you to select a plan. There are 3 popular plans, but I recommend starting off with the basic, which is $29 a month to get started. Step 3 is customize your store's design. I recommend going to the Shopify theme store, choosing a free option because you can always, personalize it later, and find something that really fits with your store's vibe and your store's aesthetic. Remember, you can customize your theme to your liking with the Shopify theme editor. You can change the color, you can change the font, you can just make your brand feel really streamlined. Now you're gonna add some products. So in the Shopify admin, you're gonna select the product button and then add product. You're gonna have to enter in details for all the products that you wanna list. For example, the title, the description, the price, and really any other relevant details. One thing I do recommend is making sure that you add a high quality image. Then it's time to set up your payments. And this step is pretty important because it means that you can actually receive money when customers order from you, which is great. In the settings menu, there is a payment section which allows you to select your preferred payment gateway. Now by default, they use Shopify payments, which is great because the transaction fees are quite minimal. But of course, you can customize and you can change the gateway to whatever you prefer. It's also a great way to set up additional payment methods like PayPal or Amazon Pay, even manual payments like bank transfers. The benefit of this is that the more options that you give customers to pay with, the more likely they are to transact with you. Now you're going to set up your shipping options. Shopify can automatically calculate shipping rates, but it does require a little bit of a setup. In the settings menu, there is a shipping option, which if you tap, you'll see a wide array of options. Here's where you set up shipping zones and rates based on your location and shipping preferences. The great thing is that Shopify allows you to configure different shipping carriers. You can integrate with carriers like UPS, USPS, or FedEx to get your customers quotes in real time. Now you've got to think about taxes. As an e-commerce store owner, you're liable to collect taxes and pay the relevant duties to your country. Now, this may seem really confusing and a bit scary even, but Shopify allows you to sidestep all of the complexity, and they can help you with this as well. Shopify automatically calculates taxes based on the region, and if you want, you can even configure these and customize these as well. Now, it's important to create legal pages. Legal pages protect your business in case of liability. And Shopify is great with this because it lets you auto-generate these pages, so you don't have to worry about finding a template online. Shopify can do it for you. Now, I will say as a disclaimer, it's important that you do it properly, and if your business grows, we recommend getting a lawyer to look at it and create these custom pages, because what's right for you may not be right for someone else. In the online store section, you go to pages, and here you can create essential pages like your terms of service and your privacy policies. The next step is setting up a custom domain. Now, you need to buy a domain name before you set up your store. There's two ways to do this. The first is using Shopify. So Shopify is actually a domain registrar, so you can choose a domain name with them, or if you have an existing one, you can just simply import it to Shopify. The last thing to do before you launch your store is to actually test it out. You need to do a thorough quality assurance check, maybe even send it to friends and family so they can kind of go through the different pages, make sure all the links are working. This is a really important step because it means that when you launch, everything should work seamlessly for the customer. One great thing is that you can actually use Shopify's bogus gateway to test placing an order and really see what that experience is like for a customer. If you do see that things aren't working as expected, then you can optimize, you can change, you can retest, and you can do all these things before you launch. All right, now it's the big day, you're ready to launch. One thing you do before this is actually remove your password protection. You can do this by going into the online store section, hitting preferences, and disable the password page to make it accessible to the general public. Now you're done. Then it's time to run some ads, make some noise online, bring people to the site, and time to sell. So as a bonus, I do want to include this section because once you've actually created your website, it's time to start getting sales on it. And so in this little section, we're going to delve into some tips that I've seen work for other businesses that help improve sales. Well, the first tip I have is really focus on the user experience. You want your website to be mobile optimized. It needs to be fast. It needs to be seamless. All these things really make a difference for the end user. For instance, let's take the checkout flow, right? Making that as seamless as possible reduces bounce rates, right? If you think about it from a user perspective, if you're going through the experience and there's lots of forms and there's heaps of friction, it means that I might just get fed up with the whole process and just leave. And so what you need to do essentially is create a seamless experience, reduce those bounce rates, make it as easy as possible for the user to go from, choosing a product to then purchasing a product. The next thing is make sure that you're creating really high quality product listings. You need high quality listings. You need, detailed descriptions and even customer reviews. All these things play a massive part for the customer in making a choice. People have become really careful and selective when buying online. There is information out there everywhere. And if your site does not have the things that they're looking for, they're simply going to go somewhere else. And so it's important to make sure that your product listings, you spend a lot of time on these to make them really high quality and really end user optimized. Don't sleep on social proof either. We've seen conversion rates jump 10, 20% simply by having customer reviews and customer testimonials on the front page of a website. Showcasing testimonials can help reassure buyers that they're firstly not alone in purchasing the product, and secondly kind of mitigate any fear of the unknown and fear of the product. Additionally, offering a solid return policy helps foster that trust between the audience and again, helps increase conversion. The last tip I have for helping increase sales and conversion is diversify your marketing efforts. Running ads is table stakes. It's the basis of any e-commerce website, but it's not all. You need to consider an omni-channel approach. Things like email marketing, you need to think about SEO, organic through social media. All these things kind of combine and actually help drive your sales efforts. Now, I know a lot of entrepreneurs who just run ads because you get that instant gratification, but for a business to succeed long term, you need a number of different strategies. Things like highly personalized email marketing might just be one of those prongs. If you really want to promote a brand, you need to create engaging content and post it on multiple channels. That's just a fact. So in conclusion, that's how to build an e-commerce website in 2024. Making it beautifully designed could be the launch pad to your success, and I wish you all the best. What's great is that nowadays, the barrier to entry is much lower. You don't need to know how to code. There are hosted platforms that make it super easy to create a platform and a website for you to sell and to find end users. And once you've set up the website, it's time to market, it's time to promote. Good luck to you. I wish you all the best.